Did you say this is 350?
It is.
You did.
350.
All right. 350.
Yeah. Woo. Ooh. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by the Dallas Beer Guardians 24-hour tailgate. We're just days away from the biggest tailgate tradition in Texas. The 24-hour tailgate that kicks off Friday, February 20th, 7 p.m. in the Red Lot at Toyota Stadium and continues until kickoff on the 21st when FC Dallas takes on Toronto. This year's party features food for all 24 hours, a live DJ to keep the vibes up, extra vendors, games, and surprises, and always free beer for everyone over 21 from our friends at Pensacola. Bring your friends, bring your passion. Be part of the tradition that Dallas Beer Guardians is known for. It's a 24-hour tailgate. Don't miss it.
Well, hello there, DFW Soccer Curious. Welcome to another episode. Oh my God, it's a big one. It's number 350. 350 episodes of Third Degree, the podcast. Along for the ride today is Dan Crooke. Howdy, Dan.
Hey, it's a lot more lonely this week.
It is very lonely, but not so lonely that we don't have my hero and your hero. In fact, he's everybody's hero. He's editor and founder of thirddegree.net and America's original soccer influencer himself. It's the Buzz Carrick, calling in from somewhere out in the hinterlands. Howdy, Buzz.
Hey, I'm halfway there. Well, actually more than halfway, 3/4 of the way there. But you'll notice today's rundown is not in red crayon. I left the entire box of red crayons back in Dallas on accident, so I'm out of red crayons.
It's a super lame WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Digital message. Sucks. Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
Maybe it's time to retire the red crayon, Buzz.
Probably not.
Man, last week was so great. It was so much fun doing that episode in front of all the curious. Thanks again to Pedicolis for having us and making their place available on a day that is closed. Thanks to Scooter for being a one-man show all day. And thanks for all the curious showing up and just having a good time. It was so good to see people again, meet people for the first time, blah, blah, blah. It made my heart grow 2 sizes bigger.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I really appreciate you putting that together. It was a lot of fun to see a lot of the people in person that we've been talking to in Discord or been talking to on the social medias forever and ever. So it was really nice way to get out of town. But we're still here, still doing what we do.
Yes. The other thing that may have gone missed by many people is that if you were there, in your presence was, I think I'm saying this correctly, 5 of the 8 who traveled on that very, 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 very cold night in Indianapolis when the Burn bested the DC United for the U.S. Open Cup Championship in 1997. 5 of the 8 were there in attendance, and that was pretty cool to see those guys again.
That's such a colossal moment in the club's history back in 1997 because DC had, if I remember correctly, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, DC United had won the Shield and MLS Cup, and the Open Cup final was like a couple of weeks after the end of the season after MLS Cup. And so they were the clear prohibitive favorites going into that game.
Oh,
and
yeah.
FC Dallas did an amazing job of keeping a blank sheet in a relatively boring game, but keeping them out of it and then stealing it with a shootout win. It was the club's first ever silverware in their second season is just crazy to think about, and took a long time to get another one.
It's a night I never will forget, and it's marked also by I don't know if this has been told enough or it goes forgotten or whatever, but it also is the night Mark Dodd literally put on one of the greatest sporting performances of bravery I have ever witnessed in my life. One is the Emmitt Smith shoulder game from way back in the day, and the other one is the night Mark Dodd stood on his head and helped Dallas win its first piece of silverware in the aftermath of his mom unexpectedly passing away. He was playing on literally, like, I think it was within 48 hours after his mom had died unknowingly. Was it a car accident?
I don't know the details.
I don't remember.
It was even the next day. I think
it was like the next day, and somehow, some way, with her hand on his back, I suppose, he was unreal that night. That game is up on YouTube. You have to go watch it if you've never watched the Burn winning the Open Cup in 1997. Go for the championship and lifting of the trophy, but stay for the miraculous performance of Mark Dodd back then. It's one of my favorite things. I will never, ever forget that night and seeing that in person.
And Peter, when you're really old and bedridden and it's going to rain and your hip hurts, you'll remember that night as why your hip hurts.
Yeah. So I was sitting next to Tommy Sohn's two very Chicago brothers. And when that final whistle blew and they had won, we all ran to go, rush the field. And I had the giant Inferno flag of greatness in my hands. And as I got right past the advertising board, one of the brothers hip checked me into the board and almost broke my hip. I had a bruise the size of a soccer ball on my hip for like 3 weeks afterwards.
If you know what you're looking for in the highlights, you can see Peter go down.
Yeah.
He tries to run the field.
It was great. And all of that was fun to think about and reminisce about and see those guys. It was fun to see everybody. And even the best current Burn fan in the whole world, Doc, was there, and it was cool to see him too. So
Doc
thanks
was in the 97 Open Cup. Oh no!
At the recording session.
I'm joking. I know.
I hope we get to do another live recording of Third Degree somewhere down the road.
Someday, for sure.
Dan, did you have a highlight moment from the recording session you'd like to reminisce about, discuss, mention?
The giveaway was great. A lot of fun there.
Yeah, it was.
Aman surprisingly winning and then
abdicating his win.
So ashamed.
People immediately yelling, "Fix!"
That was you.
Me too. Yeah, I was like,
you were the one that picked the name out.
I know. It's my bad. Well, Jenny was not coming down to get her item, so.
Yeah, that was pretty great. So, okay, that's enough. Thank you. I can't say it enough, so I'm going to stop now. Let's move on to more important things. And yes, since we last spoke, we can now fully get into the most important thing, which is the reveal of what is, without question, period, the end, the best FC Dallas shirt since the rebrand back in the early aughts. Oh my gosh, the DNA kit is perfecto, Buzz.
Oh yeah, it's unquestionably the best FC Dallas kit for sure. I would say that the Burn throwback is really, really good, and it's right there with it. But the FC Dallas current one, this red and blue hoops, even with the little white pinstripes, this is basically exactly what we've been talking about since 2005.
Yeah.
Right? The only thing that we're not going to get is the white shorts. It's going to be as good as could possibly get. Now, the trick is, will they maintain this consistency of this brand, and that will they carry this blue and red hoop forward? And the thing about a great brand in the kit is that you can change it up all the time, vary it in ways to make it different, so that every year it's got a different vibe, a different flavor, and still keep the core concept of it. You see that all the time with these big clubs that have the same sort of basic pattern. I mean, you can just pick any one of the major ones like that has a pattern. Let's say Juventus, for example, their black and white stripes are subtly different every single time. They're always black and white stripes, but they're always changing. For an example, in MLS, Atlanta United with their red and black stripes, they change it every time, but it's always Atlanta United. You always know what it is. It's always red and black stripes. So that's what FC Dallas needs to do with this red and blue hoop. Stick with it. Be special.
No, it's too perfect. Just do an Ajax. Absolutely identical.
Never change it
year without fail.
I'm okay with that, yeah. But I bet you, if you looked at the Ajax's jersey, I bet you there are little tweaks and changes and subtle things. So people will say, look, I want the 100% fresh, the one that we're right this second,
They do little things. They went back to an old logo. They changed the color up, different trim levels that Adidas does, things that you would expect.
Exactly.
FC Dallas previously with the hoops, 2012, 11, whenever it was, they had those the little separations in the hoops. They had those weird angled ones back in 2008, 2009, whenever it was. They've had variations before that they could kind of lean back on.
Yeah.
Going back to Ajax, I was thinking about something, because a lot of people will make the argument the reason you change up your jersey is so that you can sell new jerseys, because if the jersey just looks the same, why buy a new one? I'd be interested to go back and find out if there was any way to do an analysis of Ajax sales, and if their sales percentages track differently from new home kit to new home kit than another club that changes them up, like Arsenal or United or whatever, where there's, maybe they're somewhat the same, but they're still different shirts. I'm just wondering if that holds true with Ajax or not. Like, do they just not sell as many shirts and they're just okay with that because sticking with tradition is more important to them? That would be an interesting question to get an answer to.
I bet you the variance is small. Would be my guess.
I think with soccer, it's always difficult, right? Because sometimes you buy a jersey because it was a momentous season, and you want something from that. American sports, obviously, everyone has a player name on it, so that is your difference. Basketball jerseys can be identical every year. The Cowboys jersey is identical every year, but someone might want a Michael Irvin jersey versus a Dak Prescott jersey. So, FC Dallas, you could get that. You could get someone wants a Valiente jersey now.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that here in a minute and let you know what Dan is talking about. The jersey, by the way, the quality of it is really, really nice. The badge for both the sponsorship Adidas logo and the FC Dallas badge, at least on the authentic, is really, really nice. I think for transparency's sakes, we should all just announce here that the club was really, really kind and supplied us each a shirt. That was really cool of them to do that. They didn't need to do that, and so we really.
Wait, they told me we had to share.
Oh,
we're not the same size, so I was confused how that worked out.
You two are sharing. I got one up here on my own. Yeah.
So, what days do you need it, Dan, and what days can I have it?
Every day that ends in Y.
Okay. So thank you to them for doing that. I feel like that's only fair to be transparent about that. Here's the deal. If they hadn't given us one, I would have gone out and bought one.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Would you?
I'd have been at Soccer 90 on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
I know. So anyway, it's great, and of course, the interesting thing that's coming out, and we'll save next week to go through the entire league run of all the different jerseys that have come out. But one of the things that's really interesting about this year and gets me excited about what MLS seems to be loosening their grip on is allowing teams to not get stuck in the monochrome, red shirt, red shorts, red socks, and allowing teams to be, multicolor in the way that they're laid out. And of course, we wish that Dallas could be red shirt, white shorts, blue socks or red socks or whatever it is. But instead we get the blue shorts. Fine, whatever. But man, some of the combinations that I've seen of photos of some of the clubs, obviously the best one is NYCFC with kind of the darker blue shirt, the white shorts, and the orange socks. It is so kick-ass.
Yeah, it's really good. That when we thought hoops was dead for a while, it would never come back. One of the things I suggested was something similar to that, which was like, you're a red team, you could go with a solid red top, white shorts, and blue socks. They're those sort of patterns exist. Manchester United, Mexico, like it's a common idea, and they've done that with a New York jersey, and it's spectacularly good. There's obviously blue on top with the orange socks instead, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and it's an interesting year for the shirts. So we'll talk more about that next week. But good Lord, the DNA kit, home run, grand slam. Don't just like that could be the last shirt they ever make, and I would be over the moon ecstatic about it. It's exactly the shirt that we've been dreaming of here on Third Degree, the podcast, for 15, 20 years. I don't.
Well, the podcast's not that old, but other than that, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
And they just saved it for the perfect time, getting the Climacool Plus stuff that the World Cup's going to have, and that upgrade in technology, the logos you mentioned having the little holographic elements, just amazing details.
It is. And Dan, by the way, credit to you. Once again, your predictive mock-up was spot on. So kudos for your great and excellent work leading up to it.
And thank you for all the whispers.
Oh, whispering is helpful and powerful. All right. So we were planning on talking about the final scrimmage of the season, but right on schedule, Mother Nature got in the way, and Saturday's scrimmage got canceled, even after the team tried to move it away from the pending storm, although I think they kind of moved it right into the middle of the pending storm, but whatever. That whole thing went on for so long, they would have had to have waited till probably 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to have played it. But I'm confused around, Dan, were you at the stadium?
Yes.
Okay, so provide some context about how this takes place, because they delayed the start after moving it earlier, only to then actually kick off and then essentially abandon the game just 5 minutes in. How did that all go down?
So they moved the game up an hour to try and get it knocked out before the storms hit. I guess the notion was that the storm system shifted east from what they'd expected, and that kind of put the stadium more in the path. So they were hoping, it started to rain a little bit lightly. Game kicks off, starts absolutely bucketing down. 5 minutes in, we're watching lightning in the distance, and it's getting closer and closer and closer. And then the referee waves everyone off. 5 minutes in, you get that classic 30-minute countdown. We're hearing that the North Texas SC game's been cancelled entirely on one of the practice fields. Tulsa and San Antonio were due to play a friendly. They just got back on the bus and went home. That's an unfortunate drive. There was an ECNL tournament. They all stopped play immediately. And yeah, it was, you're watching that 30-minute timer start again and again and again. And then eventually it was, hey, yeah, just calling it, not happening.
Okay. I didn't realize they actually did kick off at 11 only to stop it at 5. I thought they had postponed it at 11, waited a whole bunch of time, then kicked off and played 5 minutes and then quit. Now that makes way more sense. Okay. Very good. Well, it's unfortunate that that's how it all happened, because now Buzz, Dallas doesn't have a final preseason tune-up.
Hey, we talked about that.
I guess we did that last week, huh?
Yeah. Well, we talked about. I talked about the preseason schedule not being great, but in lieu of having a game, we at least got a starting 11, and it sort of reinforced what we've seen the last couple of games on paper, or if we had a pirated feed or whatever. Basically, you're looking at what I call a 3-5-2, but you could call it or coach sometimes does call it a 5-3-2. And it's a 10-less system this spring. There's no, like the end of last year, they had Patterson Delgado playing sort of as a 10. He tends to go kind of walk about all around the front line, but he was forward more in more of that capacity, at least in the offensive sense. So if you look at the same group of players starting the last 2 or 3 games, even though they didn't get the whole game in, Colodey's in net, and then you have Urguide is the middle of your back line, and you have Shaq Moore and Ibiaga are your other two. What we used to call the marking center backs, or the right and left center backs. And then Herman Johansson, the new wing backs, on the right, and Bernie's on the left. And then across the midfield, you have these 3 sort of 6-8 kind of combo guys. Ramiro has been in the middle as the stay-at-home sort of 6, and Kappas and Kaik are both playing sort of 8-ish, but they definitely defensively they sit back in a 3 on top of the back 5. And when they go forward, you're not seeing Christian Kappas run forward into the zone 14 and becoming a pure 10. He's not doing that. He and Kaik are both kind of sort of drifting forward like a double 8 sort of combination. And you have Logan and Petter Musa up top. Now, Musa missed that game, but we know that he's going to be the guy with Logan Farrington all the time. So there's a reason why, in my book, they went out and got Herman Johansson, who's a better attacking wingback, a guy who can score and can pass. Because you're still going to have Bernie over there, who is a physical force in terms of his ability to play over the top, but he's not really refined in terms of his assisting. So you're gonna be looking at Johansson and probably Logan, who's a relatively high assist making striker, as the two guys that are going to facilitate, because Christian Kappas and Kayik and Ramiro, none of those guys are string pulling midfielders. They're not creative midfielders. Those guys are hardworking. Some of them box to box, some of them sort of stay at home, but those are defensive minded warrior type central midfielders. This is not going to be like a possession oriented team as the season starts. Look at that back five. Is there much build-out capability in that back five at all? There sure as hell wasn't when we watched them play this spring. So you're looking at like your team to start the year is going to look a lot like it did at the end of last year, with the sit super deep and be super patient and not have hardly any of the ball. Games with like 30% possession, you want better than that, but you can see a lot of that. You can see a lot of this. If the other team turns it over, Dallas will get it and play really quickly vertically the other direction. It's going to look exactly like the end of last year. So that's what you can expect to see as the season opens. Will it be the same by the end of the season? Probably not, but that's what they're starting with. That's what it's going to be, is this 10-less 3-5-2, if you will.
Is the fact that Delgado doesn't seem to be included in all of this and not playing at a 10, is that the surprise of the start of the season at this point?
Yeah, because he did a decent job. He does not get a high number of assists, but he at least gets forward into the attacking zone and creates a little havoc. And for him to be dropped in favor of basically like a 8-8, look, or really like 3 6s in a lot of way right across the middle, really raises some red flags in terms of like how much offensive pattern building or capability are you going to have. And again, you would now understand why Johansson was such an important piece for them, because of his ability to get forward and create. Perhaps as a more of an inverted sort of wing, even though most of the time it looks like he's going to be on the right. We have seen a little bit of switch foot left out of him. So, it's not going to be a beautiful possession tiki-taki play. It's going to be a track meet kind of play. You're going to get forward fast. Both Logan and Musa are the guys that can take advantage of chaos. Balls in there that are bouncing around. Those guys are both dudes that can get on the end of stuff and poke them in and get goal conversion going. So, expect what you saw the last, what was it, 10 or so games at the end of last year. It's going to look just like that. So whether that's any better than last year, man, I don't know. I don't know if it's any better. And as we always say in this league, if you don't get better, you get passed by. So we'll see how it goes.
Daniel, what are your thoughts about all this?
Yeah, I think it's a lot more structure, right? Taking the 10 out, you shore up the midfield, you have a true front two, getting Musa and Farrington on the field all the time. You're looking for more output from your wing backs, having your Hansen there. It'd be interesting to see how Bernie kind of kicks on, if there's any possibility that Ricky Lewis even comes into the picture if Bernie has a rough start to the season again.
Did you mean Dietz in there?
No, I actually didn't.
No, I know.
I don't know where Deedson lands. I know the idea is for him to play more wing back. Against New York, he got absolutely torched by Ruvalcaba twice in the first 5 minutes. It was not pretty, and especially with him going off to the World Cup as well, I think his mind is going to be elsewhere. It's not necessarily going to be, can I adapt to a new position? It's, can I play right wing, left wing for my national team on the biggest stage there is? So. But every time I've seen Ricky Lewis at wing back, been really impressed. I was really disappointed when he got moved into a front two for that second 11 with Nick Simmons. So yeah, we'd be interested to see. There was one interesting quirk actually from North Texas in their brief attempt to play a game, was that it seems that Simmons is now fully with North Texas SC and not FC Dallas, whereas Ricky Lewis is obviously with FC Dallas. So does he become the de facto third 9? Do they look at Deedson as that option? Those two are going to fall in an interesting place one way or another.
Yeah, you've even got like a Sarver who's not tall, but he could probably 9 a little bit. You have Anderson Julio, who's more of a vertical style, but he's obviously in that conversation up there too. So You can see why Simmons would be much further down the depth chart than Ricky Lewis might be, when Ricky Lewis probably is now second at left wing back, probably ahead of Josh Torquato, maybe. That's hard to tell for sure, but certainly there's some potential in a high generation to just pick like that. But Josh Torquato's got talent too, so we'll see how that goes. It wouldn't surprise me, of course, if Josh sees a lot of time at North Texas at the beginning of the season, because he is still only 18 or so, or whatever he is.
Yeah, you'd expect him to be starting there.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah. It depends on the shape they play, but based on the paperwork we've been seeing, it looks like North Texas is playing the same 3-5-2. So that, not a surprise that they're going to emulate that system. They didn't do it last year, but that was because it was so late in the season. It's not surprising you're going to see it again this year. We'll come back to North Texas later.
All right. So as I look at this lineup, Buzz, I think I probably have the same concern just based on paper that most people would, because if you look at it the wrong way, it looks like there's 7 guys behind the ball and 2 in front of the ball.
Yes.
Which is disconcerting. So is this going to be a park the bus and just try to win in transition thing?
Yeah, that's you looking at it the correct way. That's what it is, basically. It's actually 8 guys behind the ball. Because
I'm not counting the keeper.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a back 5 with 3 in front. So
oh, right. Yeah, it is. Yeah, right. It's 8 with 2 in front. Yeah. Math isn't my strong suit, Buzz. Yeah, right.
Radio, Texas Tech radio is not getting that. Remember too that a lot of times when you see it, you would even see which one is it? Logan. You would see. I can't remember which guy it was. Logan would often check back and become like a right mid or something like that, and that midfield 3 would even slide over, and you'd even get a 5-4 a lot of times, and Kappas would take up a position outside on top of the. I mean, you guys watched the end of last season, right? Yeah. I'm not making this up. This is what happened. This is the sacrifices they made to clamp down the scoring. It's not a surprise that they're going with the exact same thing going into the season.
I do think Pull not having a 10, they will get more aggressive with the wing backs. That seemed to be, Johansson in those first 5 minutes was bombing forward pretty nicely. We've seen it across a few of the games now.
I'm curious because I've not seen him play yet. I'm dying to know if part of the game plan, because we're told this particular attribute of his is such a high-level skill set, is Johansson crossing the balls in from deep to Musa and Farrington, who are both, Musa in particular is a good header of the ball. Farrington's pretty sizable himself, and I just wonder if that's now going to be one of their one of their new attacking methods that, we've not seen them do very much in a long while, so that will be interesting to watch.
It certainly could be. And of the games we've seen, we've also seen Kappas, who is lining up on the left of that 3-man midfield. He also plays a lot of long, because Bernie doesn't, the wingback on that side, but Kappas does. So you've seen Kappas whipping these balls into the box to guys on the break, to guys into the box, and chaos happens when those guys do that. But again, we've also saw not the whole game, but we saw a lot of inverted backs where the Johansson and Bernie would switch sides, and then it's come underneath and shoot. So there's an opportunity to play multiple flexible shapes and mix that up. And it's no question that Johansson's ability to assist was a big part of what they wanted out of him.
All right, the other big kind of area of concern, and I think a surprise, is the fact that it does appear by all accounts that Eric Quill has made the choice to stick with Ibeagha as one of the starting 3 center backs. I think a lot of people, we talked about it here quite a bit, along the idea that Nolan Norris would become a regular starter, but it doesn't appear that's going to be the case, and I'm curious if we should be surprised by that.
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed, and I don't want to talk about this too much because I've sort of said my piece on this organization in Ibeagha for 4 years now. I feel like it's been 4 years. Hopefully, it's not actually been 4 years. But if you really think that you're competing to make a deep playoff run, and you think getting every single point right from the jump really matters, then I understand why you pick Ibeagha. I don't think that's true. I don't think this team is anywhere close to being able to compete deep into the playoffs. And part of that is because of Ibeagha. So to me, I think it's more important to see, of the younger guys that I have, who can I develop, and so they can become a much better player down the line than Ibeagha. So that's it. That's my beef. That's it's just a perception of how good you think the team is. Clearly, the coaching staff and the front office technical staff think this team is better than I do. So in their minds, it's important to lock down defensively and go with the veteran experience right out of the gate. They've made that choice, and I think by the end of the season, we'll see who was right about that. So that's what I think is happening.
I think part of what you touched on there is kind of knowing what they have, that trust. Supposedly Nolan was dire in Portugal, and that took him right out of the start. And over the rest of preseason, he hasn't been able to win that back. He hasn't been able to win coach's trust back.
Yeah, Quill's huge on trust, and if we could see these games, we might be able to talk a lot more about what's actually happening and not having to just guess the fact that Nolan's playing poorly and maybe Alex playing better, but we can't see the games, and no one in media can. So,
no, I mean that was discussions with people at FC Dallas, like of what happened there. So whether he kind of earns that trust in the first few weeks of the season, that would be great. We'd all love to see that. But yeah, I mean, obviously he's huge on mentality, and mentality is often based around trust.
Hell, I'd even rather see Alvaro than Ibeagha again. I don't think there's much use in paying a 34-year-old center back when you're going to be well out of any real point competition.
Well, I guess that's part of the question is the fact that they're paying him, what is it, $600,000 a part of, like, hey, we're paying this guy a lot of money. He better be, if you're not going to start Nolan, you better start him, or you better start him anyway.
That goes back to the original miscalculation in my mind when they signed Ibeagha in the first place. They thought they saw a guy that, like, oh, this is an MLS Cup starter. I saw a guy that's a journeyman who's only been in MLS half his career and barely can start over 15 games. So, like, there's a complete misvaluation at the beginning of the contract.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think that's the part that is concerning, which is they feel like he is an MLS starting quality center back, and we all don't think he is. And that also then begins to make you wonder, well, if nobody else behind him is even good enough to beat him, then they're really weak at that position.
I think part of it is they know what they're getting. Abubakar, you don't know if he's going to be good or bad. Alvaro was either fantastic or god awful. If Nolan was really up and down in Portugal, meanwhile, you've got Ibeagha. It's slow and steady. Yeah. It's not amazing, but at least that's the position you need a steady head at.
Well, it's interesting because I think earlier today, where was that? I was looking for this. Oh, there it is. They put up all the different Apple TV talent predictions. And without going through them in all of them, I'll just tell you that the lowest had Dallas finishing 14th. Miguel Gallardo had them finishing 14th in the Western Conference. And the highest that I see here is a couple of people who have them picked 8th, or 3 people who have them picked 8th. Everybody else has them 10th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. One person has them 13th. So I guess this is the show we need to make our predictions, Buzz, as to where Dallas is going to do. Are you surprised that the national media, or at least the MLS TV people, have them kind of in that muck?
No, not at all.
Did you see that one of the announcers' pick for Supporters Shield was Vancouver or Atlanta? I'm not sure I want to watch any game he calls. The ball is round. The ball is kicked. Goal.
Well, maybe he just wanted to be different. Did everybody else pick Miami?
Cincinnati, LAFC, Miami, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he just wanted to be different.
But Vancouver, anyone that's not been living under a rock for 6 months, no, they've been absolutely decimated.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting to think about. I think there's a couple things about that list that I find interesting. Is the consistency of people kind of having them as just below the playoff line? Like there's more people that think 9 is the breaking point?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's about 50-50 between people that think they'll squeak in and not squeak in. I'm a little surprised somebody has them as low as 14th. That seems like a complete outlier. But what I'm very surprised by, there's not at least one person out of there that does have the opposite outlier of them finishing somewhere like 5th or 4th, like the highest being 8th, to me is pretty interesting.
Well, I think if they would have landed a DP10, that you would have seen a lot of different opinions about that. You would have seen somebody outlier, maybe a few more people going high, but they didn't. They're going into the season with an open DP position.
Okay. But here's, I think, the really interesting question about that. So this time last year, FC Dallas went out and shocked the world and spent $5 million hairs on a former MLS MVP to play that attacking stylistic role. And everybody's attitude went from, oh my God, this is a wooden spoon team, to, hey, we might actually do something this year. Now, we know how that story played out. But my question is, do we really think that this team is fundamentally in a position that if they just got that one guy, they go from a team that may or may not squeak into the playoffs to being a top 4 or 5 contender in the West?
Sure, because in the grand picture of the season and where you're going to finish, how many games you're going to win, it comes down to, quite blankly, a goal differential. And so if you add a guy who can bring in 10 to 15 assists, your goals for is going to jump by 10 to 15 goals. And if you continue to play the good defense you did in the last season, your entire goal differential is going to swing by like 10 goals. And if you're a plus 10, plus 13 in goal differential, you're going to be 4th or 5th in the West. If you go even, like a 0 goal differential, you're going to be right on the playoff line, 8-9. If you're like a minus 10, you're going to be down like 14th. So that's it. It's simplistic.
Yeah.
But if you got a guy that can get assists and pull some strings, Dallas would make a 10-goal swing in their goal differential, and they're going to be a team comfortably in the playoffs. But they didn't do that. They didn't go out and get a 10. So basically, you're going into the season with exactly the same team as you had last year. Like we can come back to the guys they added in a minute. But like, are any of them right now this minute better than Patterson Delgado? No,
I don't know. I haven't seen them play.
Right, and they dropped Patterson Delgado out of the lineup, and they're going with 3 defensive-minded players in midfield. So like, why would anyone be picking them to be like this high per team in the playoff chances? This is not right.
Yeah.
It's basic stuff,
Okay. Well,
there's predictions.
Well, let's do it now. Let's do that. Buzz, what do you have? How do you have them finishing this season?
Yeah, I have them 8-9. Yeah.
8 or 9.
Yeah, that I see that in the play-in game.
Yeah.
I have them in the playoffs, but in the play-on game. And that's it.
All right.
One thing
Dan,
at a time. We got other predictions to make as we go forward.
No, I understand. Dan?
Yeah.
7-8.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm stuck at 8-9, and I think a lot of that is because, if you told me they were going to go out and get a Mauro Diaz level kind of guy, I think my attitude would slightly change, but I still have a lot of questions. I got questions about Bernie on the left. I obviously have questions at center back. A lot of the season is going to depend on a guy who I think we're all a little bit surprised is now the starting goalkeeper. Not that he's not good, but Michael Collodi, it's not like Michael Collodi is a career path that anybody predicted.
Crazy path, yeah.
Right? Like,
right.
If I told you 3 years ago Collodi would be the starting goalkeeper for the 2026 season, you would have...
no way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm hoping he does well, but I do think that's a big question mark on the season is how good Collodi can be over the course of a season.
Yeah. Collodi coming out of Columbia, I wasn't even sure was going to be a professional soccer player. He didn't get drafted.
Exactly.
FC Dallas, in my opinion, FC Dallas signed him to North Texas just because he'd been in the academy. It's like, oh, we need a guy. We like him. He's a good leader. They knew about him. It was when we saw how amazing his feet were. And then when in a modern game and the way Cole wants to play, that all made too much sense. And you remember at the end of last season, we talked about this idea, like, okay, do you get rid of Paz? And I, for one, I think a couple of you guys too, were like, yeah, get rid of him because an asset on the bench doesn't do any good. So, from the end of last season till now, I'm not surprised at all that Chloe's a starter. I'm not surprised at all they get rid of Paz. That's what they should do. That's proper roster management.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of like what happened with Paz and now Collodi is kind of what we kind of wish was happening with Ibeagha and Nolan Norris.
Yeah, basically.
So it would be interesting to see how those two things play out. Like, does one bite them in the ass?
Well, Collodi earned the spot, and I don't think I could say that Nolan has earned the spot or Alvaro has earned the spot. I just don't think it's worth playing a 34-year-old when you're not competing for you're not one player away from MLS Cup.
Right.
You got a lot of players you need. You might as well find out or develop. This is the same thing they did with Nicola Tafari. They didn't play him either. Like at some point you have to play these young players to let them develop, and they're not doing it. They're acting like they're one player away from MLS Cup, and they're not.
So the one thing that we haven't talked about yet is at the team event Tuesday night. Was it Tuesday night? What night was that?
I don't remember.
Whatever night it was last week. Thursday. They surprised everybody by announcing that, in fact, the much-rumored acquisition of 24-year-old attacking midfielder and Uruguayan Joaquin Valiente from Defensor SC had been done, and he was in attendance for the party. Here's the thing. So do we have any sense as to how good this guy is? Is he the 10? Is Dallas going to roll with just one DP until they decide they've found somebody to fill that? And is he good enough to even be so close to good enough that they could apply a DP usage for another position like center back or holding or a big time 6?
Well, these are all questions we're going to find out the answer to, we hope, because this is not the DP that I was looking for, in the sense that, like, I was looking for a dude that was an established, proven player at this level or better. I don't think the Uruguayan league, at least top to bottom, is as good as MLS. So, like, there's some great video on tape and stuff. We have no idea whether this kid is going to be able to compete in the MLS level. We have no idea whether he's going to be good enough. He's certainly not going to walk in and be the 10 that's going to solve all their issues. Now, it could be that he's great. As everybody, we're going to wait and see how he performs in MLS, and then we'll make a judgment of whether we think he's good enough or not. Right now, obviously, he's not the answer. So, like, it may be that 6 months from now, we might be going, this is the greatest signing of all time. What a steal. But, like, there are guys like Alan Velasco who at 18 or 20, whatever it was, you pay $10 million for it, including DPs. This kid's not even a DP. It means nobody really valued him that much, right? Now, it could be that they just made an absolute steal, crazy, amazing sign. Kaik was $4 million, and this kid's cheaper than that, clearly, because he's not a DP. So expectations are set reasonably, I think, quite low. Hopefully he'll exceed those expectations and it'll be awesome. But Dan, this is not on paper what we were talking about when we were talking about a DP 10. What is it?
No, it's more what we were talking about when the expectation was almost adjusted to get you through the World Cup and see where Musa's going. Then do you need to rebuild the team around another attacking piece?
Yeah, that's the key. It's like this hints that they have no idea what's happening with Musa. And so they're kind of like, we better not shoot all of our bullets in the preseason when we might have to complete rebuild this team in the middle of the season.
I think it's almost like when they had Felipe Meliaro, and they'd brought him in. He was going to go off to the Olympics, play really well for Brazil, and then make a boatload of cash. And then he never made the roster. There's a chance Musa doesn't make the roster.
Yeah,
there's a chance he goes, there's a chance he repeats Davor Suker in 98, wins the Golden Ball, and suddenly makes an absolute shit ton of money. I mean, you can't, as much as the one DP thing is annoying, you kind of, if they threw everything into a win now 2026, then lost their most valuable piece halfway through it, we'd all be livid. And, the next 2-3 seasons are screwed because of this decision. So I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah. I can understand that risk mitigation, which leads me back to the idea that, like, well, clearly you're not all in on 2026. So why bother playing Ibiaga?
I was going to say the only thing I could rationalize is that they, like last season, they think they're going to be that close to the playoff line that they don't want to risk silly goals and losing more in a goal difference.
That's totally fair that, like, a couple of points at the beginning of the season might be the difference between making the playoffs or not. That's fair. Totally fair.
Yeah, this signing just feels less like a Mauro Diaz signing and more like a Pablo Arangi signing, and we all know how that went. And he just I hope he works out. I hope he turns out to be a baller. But it's just that there's just been so little about it and I don't watch YouTube highlight videos, Buzz. That's rule number one.
Yeah. But I'm like you. I hope this is a signing where, like, 2 months, 3 months from now, we're like, man, what a steal! God, well, that'd be awesome. But it's like it's not high probability. It's not at 24.
You go back to Mauro Diaz and all the money, the River Plate link, everything else. 6 months in, he's shit. What did they waste all this money on? He keeps getting injured. What's going on? He looks miserable. It took a very long time to see the guy that was solid in 2016. This feels like taking a punt on a guy that had a good season on loan in Ecuador, and if it pans out, great, make some money. If not, you didn't lose anything.
Unfortunately, I think we're all frustrated with them taking punts on players in key positions, unless there's some sort of master plan for them to bring in a real name and. At some point, and we just don't know how that's going to play, how the season's going to play out. I mean, there's just too many obvious questions about the state of the team in terms of paying for buildings and
limited stadium,
the stadium and all that
chopped
stuff.
Up season, Musa leaving, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I do think that the specter of Musa, being sold off makes acquiring somebody like that difficult, because if you lose Musa, in many ways, you can make the argument that you've got to go. Like essentially start over from scratch in a lot of ways, because you got to replace a 10 and a 9. And
that's a conversation for a different day, but I think you might rethink that and just make Logan Farrington your 9 and then rethink your whole formation, because Cole doesn't want to play necessarily a 2-striker system. That's what he has. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm a fan of the Beaver. That's going to be taken out of context. I'm a fan of Logan Farrington as much as the next guy, but even he, to a certain degree, Buzz, has a lot to prove.
Yep.
And he's a bit of an unknown entity.
First season as a lock starter.
Yeah, 100%. So I get it. I understand why the general media. I don't think it's unfair to have them as 8th or 9th. I think there's very little on paper right now. I think that if you're just being honest and take off your red and blue hooped sunglasses for a second, that's what this team looks like at this point in time. Now, things could change dramatically, so we'll see where it goes. I mean, we've been watching this league for a very, very long time, and preseason predictions are not a lot of fun, and they tend to get laminated, I'm told.
The hard part's always, I guess, for FC Dallas with the way they build a roster is who is doing more to overtake FC Dallas more than who is FC Dallas trying to overtake.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you're looking at Colorado. What are they doing? Houston add in Bogusz. On paper, it seems like they're doing pretty well, but the other week they got outplayed thoroughly by North Texas SC. San Jose is always San Jose. LA Galaxy, how well do they rebound? That's it.
Yeah, I think part of what's going on that concerns me is that this thing grinds down to just a really unattractive, unentertaining team in the middle of a period of time where they've got the whole problem with the stadium and the game day experience and limited number of seats and all that stuff. And they don't have a really big name to hang their hat on. And just, you begin to see how this thing quickly becomes very irrelevant in the marketplace and easily forgettable, especially when it's going to just completely stop dry halfway through the season because of the World Cup, and everybody's going to forget about it. And by the time the World Cup's over, is anybody going to be excited about the restart of the season? That's the part that I think is going to be interesting to kind of watch play out.
I think that the impact of MLS players on the World Cup. If FC Dallas's 3 players go to the World Cup, all have good games, come back, and there's some buzz around it, then it's possible. If everyone shits the bed and it's like, oh, MLS is a terrible league, then you're stuck behind the 8 ball.
Yep.
All right. Well, there we go. The other thing is that they did sign a goalkeeper, Buzz.
Two.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Brooks Thompson showed up at the Cocktails and Cleats and was introduced to the team, and everyone was like, "What?" I mean, he's a keeper under contract to Lexington SC in the USL Championship. I mean, at the time he was under contract, so it's like he is wearing an FC Dallas jersey, being introduced as an FC Dallas goalkeeper when there's been no announcement of any kind of transaction or anything. So here you go, cool, awesome player. I mean, I have no idea about him. They've now since announced a loan deal for him. I can't tell you anything about him, but they needed a third keeper, so here he is, right? So we'll see how he holds up and competes.
All right. Well, since the Atlanta game was a washout, what are we looking forward to on Saturday night, Buzz, against Toronto? Which, by the way, will probably wear their new white kits, and that'll be a perfect contrast to the new DNA kit.
Well, it's pretty obvious from the last couple of games what's going to happen. Michael Colodey's in goal. You're going to have Bernie at left wing back. You're going to have Shaq Moore, Azir Gide, Ibiaga across the middle of the back line. Johansson will be a right wing back. Left to right across midfield, Christian Kappas, Ramiro, and Kaik, and Musa and Farrington up top. And that's it. You're going to, even at home, probably they'll sit back and play in their defensive 5-man shell with 3 in front, and then they'll do exactly what they've done like the last 3 games in preseason from the limited clips we've seen, or the 1 or 2 games we caught snippets of. That's what it's going to look like. So, be prepared for that to look exactly like it did at the end of last season, minus the fact that they added a nice, what appears to be a nice looking wing back on the right, and they've dropped a 10 for a 3-man across the middle. Dan, as you quite rightly pointed out, I think that's going to allow Bernie and Johansson to be quite free up and down the wings. So we'll see how that goes.
Yay, stability.
Yep.
All right. Well, before we move on to other things, just finishing up predictions, let's just run through these real quick. Golden Boot seems like the dumbest prediction we could possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Who do you have?
Well, it has to be Musa, right?
I'm going to go with Logan Farrington because Musa's going to get sold after the World Cup.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm going Musa, and then the goals dry up if he gets sold.
Which will leave Logan Farrington. Oh, you think Musa?
Yeah, well, that's it. If no one's there, that's
how bad the second half of the season's going to go. Is that Musa will be leading the team before he's sold, and will still be leading the team at the end of the season, despite not playing the second.
No, I think Logan will pick him by the end of the year, and Logan will be Golden Boot.
All right. Who's MVP? Dan.
Shit, I left that blank. I mean, that's Musa for me.
Again, Logan Farrington going to have a breakout year. He's going to go 10-10.
Man, you are pushing all the chips in on the Beaver.
I am all in on. Even if Musa does not get sold, I think Logan goes 10-10 and has a really great, amazing breakout year. 10 goals, 10 assists.
Is he also your defender of the year, Buzz?
No. While I considered Colodi my defender of the year is Iragide, because he's going to be doing a lot of saving of people's butts back there in the back line.
Okay. Dan, who's your D man of the year?
Oh my. I went for Herman Johansson.
As a defender? That's sad. I'm telling you right now, if Johansson ends up being defender of the season, the shit hit the fan at some point.
No, I mean, I think if you quell attacks from the outside, that's always, a positive thing, and potentially you can.
I know, but if that is your best defender of the year,
I'm going on the basis of, do you remember the year that FC Dallas, and this was a Gina Miller thing, weirdly, put a midfielder as defender of the year, and it was a really good year for Reggie Cannon defensively, but they said, well, he doesn't qualify as a defender, but someone who plays midfield does. So I'm going with that logic.
Okay, all right. Dan is we'll note that Dan is using Gina Miller logic for his defender of the year voting. That's all good and fair. All right, young new breakout player. Dan, you go first.
Ricky Lewis. I have no idea where he's going to play, but he's going to play somewhere, and he's got something about him.
Yeah, Buzzard.
I'm actually also going Ricky Lewis because I think that Bernie is not going to. I think Bernie is not going to get it done at left wing back, and so I think Ricky Lewis will end up being, by the World Cup ish, probably Ricky Lewis will be in the starting line instead of Bernie.
All right, and then we'll go to league predictions. Who do you guys have winning Major League Soccer Cup 2026? Buzz?
San Diego. I like what they're doing.
Whoa. All right. Daniel?
A certain Mr. Messi with Herman Berterame. I think that's a little bit much for most teams.
So you think Miami's going to do the double, the back-to-back?
They're going to repeat.
Wow.
Messi's going to get hurt at the World Cup. Not going to repeat.
You're going to get hurt at the World Cup.
Probably. Probably.
So, Dan, does that mean that Messi and crew are winning the Shield too? Because that would be. When was the last time a Shield winner won MLS Cup? It's been a bit.
Toronto,
again. I mean, it happens very rarely. So will Miami do the double?
No, I've actually got LAFC if Denny Buanga plays nicely after not getting his move away, because him and Son, I mean, that's potentially your top two scorers in the league there.
Okay. Buzz?
I think the World Cup's going to cause utter chaos, and I think somebody that doesn't have like a heavy World Cup impact will consistently win more games, and so I got FC Cincinnati as my Shield winner.
Well,
they only have a couple of guys that are sort of fringy World Cup guys and not like a heavy load guys.
And so who's going to win League Cup, Buzz?
I think League Cup will be somebody really unexpected, like just for grins. I'm gonna say that James Rodriguez will stay with Minnesota, and Minnesota will win the League Cup after the World Cup.
Okay, Dan.
If no one's around to watch it, does it really happen?
We'll get back to that in a second.
I don't care enough.
Okay.
A-Liga MX team.
All right. So I assume that means that you do care about Open Cup. So who's winning Open Cup, Dan? You don't know.
Who's playing in it this year?
Hearts of Pine?
This season's really crept
El Paso?
up quickly.
Pick a USL team. Come on, I dare you.
Wait, which MLS teams are playing it?
The teams that didn't make the playoffs.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like Houston, for example, are doing some good things. There's a chance they win it again.
Okay, Buzz, who you got for Open Cup?
LA Galaxy.
Oh, yeah? Although, have they replaced...
Atlanta United's winning it.
Oh, okay.
Have
they replaced Puig?
I don't know. I don't think so.
All right. Wild stuff. I do want to mention the other thing that came up, because I don't think we talked about this in the last podcast, is the news that the League Cup. So a lot of the questions around FC Dallas, I noticed that none of you picked out. How deep do either one of you think Dallas is going to get in the League's Cup?
Not very deep at all.
Dan?
Group. They're going to get
grouped.
They're going to get one of the bigger teams, and they're going to get.
Yeah, you're going to have to go to Mexico and play a game. And
this is the thing that I think is an interesting deal, because word started to leak out that the organizers are talking about having, because Leagues Cup's never been played anywhere other than the United States, but now they may be playing some of these games in Mexico. And that immediately got the three of us looking at each other like, well, that almost certainly has to be Dallas, because, as we know, the timing of the Leagues Cup falls right across that period of time of the project plan for Toyota Stadium, that not only is like the side being torn down, the whole stadium is just closed, period, the end. That's why Dallas is on the road for so much of the start of the second half of the season, which then begged the question, well, okay, they're going to play games in Manfield, which, by the way, I think is a kick-ass idea. But then the question was, well, wait, what if Dallas gets paired with a Chivas or a Club America or a Tigres? And now you're trying to play that in a 7,500-seat stadium? Are you really going to leave all those dollars on the table? And the answer to the question, and because you really literally have no place else to play it in the Dallas-Fort Worth area somehow, you can't play it, you're certainly not going to give the city of Dallas the gratification of hosting games in the Cotton Bowl after what happened with MoneyGram. You can't play it at Choctaw. You can't play it at AT&T. You can't play it at SMU. There's no place else to play it, so why not go to Mexico? And I have a feeling we're going to find out here in short order. Dallas is playing at least one, if not two, of their games south of the border.
One thing to keep in mind is it's not even as simple as Dallas leaving dollars on the table. It is MLS that makes it all
MLS leaving dollars on the table.
So they are the ones that make the decision on where FC Dallas plays.
Yeah, that's why we all think that they're going to play in Mexico, and that's why Dan and I both think that they won't get out of the group, is because they're going to have to play like 2 games in Mexico or whatever.
So the question is, If Dallas goes to play a road game at Club America or Chivas, do we road trip to Mexico? Is it safe enough to go to those places?
It's a
Not for
long
me,
way from
it's
Raleigh.
Yeah, I don't know.
Look, I'm not worried about getting out there. I'm worried about getting back in.
Yeah, fair enough. Man, that'd be kind of fun to go on a road trip and go watch Dallas play in a foreign land. That would be kind of cool.
I went when they played Oklahoma City in a friendly a few years ago.
Fair. Totally fair. Yeah.
I was in Toronto in MLS Cup 2010, boys.
That's true.
I've done this. I've done this trip before.
I know.
And man, Canada was very scary. I was very worried about my safety in Canada. Very, very worried about
Before we move on, I have one more prediction I want you guys to make. Over under Paxton Pomacall games at 4.5. You got the over or the under?
Oh, I would take the under all day.
Yeah, I'm on the under also.
I'm gonna give a super optimistic post World Cup 8.
Ooh. Hey, that would be a massive, heartwarming win if we get to watch 8 games out of Paxton this season. That'd be awesome.
Does he hit 30 minutes in any of those games? Who knows?
It can be 8 subs. That's fine.
Let's play this out this way. What benefit would it give the club if they paid out use the buyout on him now?
Well, you could clear all his money off the cap and his DP, not DP. It's a TAM. They buy him down. You can use that roster spot. Like if halfway through the season, even if you needed a DP spot, you could use his spot and buy him out. Basically, you don't get an international spot, you don't get a DP spot, you just get a max salary contract slot.
So what's the benefit to keeping him on the roster if he's not going to play?
Well, the only reason they've kept him on the roster for 3 years is they think he's going to play. That's all. They think he's going to eventually. Because, if he were to recover, he's a fringe national team level talent. He gets paid that much money for a reason. So it's his talent level. So that's why they keep trying, and maybe someday it'll happen, but I'm just not optimistic. And so that's why the over under is only like 4.5 games.
So Dan, have we ever gotten any insight as to what happened in Portugal with his knee since he was training really well and everything, and then suddenly just kind of dropped off the face of the earth?
No, it's a mystery. He got there and some kind of setback occurred, and he didn't train, didn't do anything.
Okay.
And we've not seen him even on a bench since coming back either. So obviously the travel was not good.
No, 2 flights, 3-hour coach ride, whatever it was. Yeah, I could totally see if you've got a bit of a dodgy knee.
Well, maybe they could get it to where they don't ever travel him. They just use a home player only. Maybe that'll make it work.
Well, it's a little easier when you're on domestic flights, I assume.
I mean, a long flight.
The last thing I saw him was in the social media video where they were trying to get people to discuss for Valentine's Day, describe their love life in soccer terminology. And he's sitting there with Chris Kappas, and Chris Kappas says, man on man.
Man on man high press.
Whoa.
And Paxton was like, wait, you're married?
That was quite funny. All right. Well, let's move on to other things. Dallas Trinity's game got canceled because of weather in wherever it was they were supposed to play. Lexington, is that what it was?
Yeah, the field was trashed or saturated or whatever. It was unplayable. So, basically weather.
And now they've got their game on Saturday against Carolina, who are in 5th place on 20 points.
Well, yeah, it's hard to talk about them much when their game got canceled, but, Trinity's got 4 new players now, and 3 of them are starting, and the 4th one they probably will soon enough. They just need to continue to integrate those players into their squad. They're making some great strides, and they're in a good direction. You got to really like what they're doing. They stomped that team 4-0 last time out. Was one of the Florida teams. Fort Lauderdale, thank you. It was on the tip of my tongue. So, really positive about the direction things are going. Back half of the season, lost some momentum with the game canceled, but they got a pretty good team Carolina sent to play, and who's in 5th place on 20 points. But it doesn't matter so much about how good the other team is at this point. Trinity's in a position of, in my opinion, do what you do and continue to get better at what you do with these new players and get yourself locked in with these new players, because they're good enough now that they can dictate to the opposition how we're going to play the game and how the game should go. So that's a positive place to be in when you're looking towards a push for the back end of the playoffs. And they're going to have a bunch of home games coming up, not this part, but coming up, and then we'll get to see them in action up close.
not only new players, Nathan Thacker is obviously, still asserting that new attacking style that, complements the team that Chris Petrocelli put together.
All right, so I guess it was Thursday night. I went downtown.
Same night as Cocktails and Cleats.
Yeah, that was. Do you think that was done on purpose or just by pure
I hope
not paying attention?
I think it's not paying attention.
Yeah. Atletico Dallas had a big soiree down at Happiest Hour, which has the worst parking situation you could possibly imagine.
So much so I turned around and went home.
Yeah, if I didn't have parking, because it's right by the radio station, if I didn't have free parking already set up there and I walked over, I would have turned around and left too. It was the parking was brutal. But they had a nice little turnout. Kyle Martino showed up to kind of MC the event as Matt and Sam, the owners of Atletico, the main owners for Atletico, introduced Peter Luccin, whatever. Luccin, whatever. As the new manager, which is a really interesting signing. I didn't have, we talked about this last week. That's not even a name I had thought about. I think it's an interesting one. I felt bad for Peter because he had clearly just, I attended the event, as I said, so I went and I felt bad for Peter because he clearly had just gotten off a plane. I guess he had been over in Spain vacationing or something. So he was clearly jet lagged. And I felt bad for him. But it's an interesting signing. There's a lot of reason to have a lot of promise. Brian Cochran was also there. So Brian is the sporting director, and he is, I always forget his son's first name, Matthew Cochran, former FC Dallas player. It's his dad. And he went through a whole spiel about a lot of things that we can get into in a second. But the one thing he really wanted to hammer home for people is that they believe in Peter Luccin so much that they are being very public about the fact that Peter will have the final say on all signings of players or players they don't sign. And they want to make a big stink about that because they really believe in his pedigree and resume and so forth. And I thought that was interesting. But other than that, I'm happy to answer whatever questions you guys want to ask.
Yeah, that's really remarkable because, to give a coach that kind of 100% control like that, especially with a new franchise and, you have a new head of soccer operations, you think that those guys would be really sticklers for how they want to have their team built. But maybe that just shows how much confidence they have seeing Peter up close the last several years, and even his work in the academy. Because Corcoran's kid is of the same age to I don't know if he actually played for Luccin or not, Luccin or not, but he was within an age group one way or the other of him, so they would have seen him a bunch, so know exactly what it's all about. So, what did you think of their sort of methodology, Peter, about what they talked about they wanted to play like? Did they get into that kind of thing?
Yeah, they talked about it a little bit. Look, the whole event, when it came to talking about the future of the team and what the team's going to be, man, there's a ton of hope and looking forward to it, a lot of excitement. I think what I was pleased to see, because I haven't had a chance to talk to any of these guys before, and those guys being like Sam and Matt, I'd never even met either one of them before that night, is just trying to get a sense of how realistic, like what expectations they've set for themselves. And I feel like a lot of the answers they gave about that kind of stuff, including attendance at the Cotton Bowl, were all stated in a very reasonable way in terms of, what I think the internal expectations they're setting, which I think is good news. Now, that doesn't, Kyle Martino, they were talking about something about player signings, and Buzz, you're breathing right into the mic and it's really loud and I was distracted.
Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you.
Yeah.
Martino.
Kyle Martino was there, as I said, and at one point, I can't remember exactly what they were talking about, but he stopped everybody talking. He said, look, I'm an owner here. I have an ownership stake in it, but I don't get to say anything and nobody cares what I think. But I've seen the list of the type of players that these guys are shooting for, and it blew me away. And he finished the sentence by saying I can't tell you or reveal anything, but what I will say is, holy shit. Now, I don't know what that means. Are they going to go out and sign guys that would normally be signed in Major League Soccer? Are they guys that would be playing in the Championship in England or La Liga? I just don't. I think we're going to have to wait and find out. But there's a lot of things to like about the club. Like at one point, I don't remember who was. I don't remember if it was Cochran or if it was Valentine that said, look, we realize that all we are and have been to this point is a marketing company. They've been selling merch and trying to sell tickets. They haven't played any soccer to this point. So they got a lot to prove and a long way to go, but they seem very invested in the facilities, the bar set up downtown, and they're calling it Expo Park, that little area right outside Fair Park. They claim will be open by the time the World Cup is here, and they're and planning on having all kinds of watching parties and events at that facility. And the headquarters, the office across the street from it, should be open a little bit after that. The only two pieces of news they kind of let out that I was unaware of. One, I didn't realize the MoneyGram partnership deal at the fields that they inherited, that was all an FC Dallas deal. So that was lost in the transition to Atletico. So that is no longer called MoneyGram. It is now called Dallas Soccer Park. I'm sure they'll go out and find a new sponsorship for themselves. That's an interesting loss of revenue that went back to the city of Dallas in many ways, too, by the way. And two, they announced that they are in the final stages of signing a deal for their training facility and training grounds in, quote, South Dallas, close to Fair Park. So that's good. I think that's great news.
Yeah. I have no idea what that would possibly be, but yeah, those are fantastic.
Man, there's a lot of places down there you could put something pretty cool. But that's an investment in that area. So I think a lot of that is my just kind of driving home thinking about what I had witnessed is that there's a good vibe. All of their merch looks kick-ass. The branding is really good. They've really come a long way in solidifying the Snake and Wolff logo and trying to, make that identifiable and a little bit more useful with the Atletico Dallas word marking and things like that. So there's lots of promise there. I just, but they got so much more runway to run down before this thing takes off.
I am absolutely fascinated by how they're making almost every decision a polar opposite of the way FC Dallas did. FC Dallas is out to the burbs. They got the small stadium. Their marketing is, if you build it, they will come. It's like it's families, it's corporate. Atletico is going to be big, huge Cotton Bowl. Everything is grassroots. Event after event after event is a grassroots, low level, street teams, personalities. FC Dallas never has personalities involved around their club. This is all personalities around the club with guys like Martino, with guys like Evra, who was involved, right? Patrice Evra. The marketing is all guerrilla style. The urban, the young, the people that are into soccer as young urbanites, East Dallas, Hispanic, Latino, none of that. Like, it's complete opposite from what FC Dallas has chosen to do over the last 25 years.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fascinating to watch those two teams. And I don't know that it's on purpose. I don't know that they said, oh, do the opposite of Dallas, FC Dallas no matter what. It's just has worked out that way. Their approaches are completely different. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch how that plays out over the next several years in the soccer landscape, not to mention whatever Fort Worth does when they come in.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dan, if you were going to say something.
I was going to say, I think it has to be the opposite. FC Dallas has a built-in customer base. The vast majority of people that have gone to live soccer regularly in the Metroplex have had some affinity with FC Dallas. There's a built-in support there. They have an extensive youth academy of thousands of kids and families. Atletico has the challenge of these grassroots elements. It's not only like, hey, you like soccer. It's, hey, you like soccer. It's a TV show to you, but we've got the real life thing coming in a little over a year, and we want you to be a part of that. It's, there's a big conversion that they need to make. So they've got to make those moves to make it happen. Because we've seen with Dallas Trinity, they haven't really made those moves. It's like they took the if you build it, they will come approach. And there's a massive chunk of their fan base that is FC Dallas fans that will go to literally any local team, and they will also go to Atletico Dallas. But that's 2,500 people. That's not anything that's sustainable.
I think the element of this in terms of them doing it the opposite of FC Dallas is very much on purpose. But I also think it's easy to forget there's a reason why FC Dallas doesn't do it this way. Because, there was about 8 years of established attempts to try to do business at the Cotton Bowl and work with that community and try to make money from it that was not working for the organization back then. And so they flipped the script and said, okay, we're moving elsewhere. And so I think that's the challenge now. Part of what I have to admit up front is that while I feel like I am watching something I've seen play out before 30 years ago, is the fact 30 years have passed and how much have changed in terms of demographics, the attitudes about the sport in our country. And if you're going to focus on a South and East Dallas community, largely Latino community, and you're really going to embrace that, are they prepared to be more season ticket buyers than game day walk-up? Because that was the Burns' big problem back 30 years ago, was that while they led the league in walk-up ticket sales, that was wildly inconsistent because it was so dependent on weather, day of the week, opponent, et cetera, et cetera. You can't run a soccer business or any sport business on game day revenue walk-ups. You've got to have season ticket sales to help drive sponsorships and everything. It's your budget and everything. And so the question is, will that community support Atletico in that way? And I think internally, based on some things that they said at the meeting, I think they've got their expectations set correctly and properly. But then my question is, do the fans, by and large, have their expectations set properly? If Atletico tends to follow the trend of other USL teams at this level, averaging, let's be generous and say 10,000 people a game in a 92,500 seat stadium, are they going to be excited about that atmosphere and that game day experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm glad you brought up the season tickets thing because I was going to. I know that from what Atletico have told me that they have the high number of deposits that makes them really happy with the situation their season tickets are in. Because you're right, Dallas would have 12,000 a game, 15,000 a game, whatever they were doing the first couple of seasons. And those numbers are legit. Like, you're right, it would completely fall off whenever there was rain. Right. It's so dependent on those factors, and because it was such a humongous walk-up kind of game day ticket buying crowd. But at the same time, like, we often saw many great game day experiences down at the Cotton Bowl. Granted, the stadium's even bigger than it is now. And I've had some conversations with them about some ideas they have about how they're going to make the experience in the Cotton Bowl good. We'll see if they can pay it off, whether that's really going to happen or not. But like, you look at the event that they just had, it looked fantastic to me. The pictures we had on the website were from Mike Brooks were phenomenal. The video clips that you see it looks like an amazing sort of pageantry and event. And the parade thing we went to when they were doing their brands and their colors and all those kind of things have all been phenomenal. So like, I have no doubt that they're gonna be able to pull off a really good experience. Whether it's good enough to get to compete and get the audience they need is going to be fascinating.
One thing we keep talking about with FC Dallas is like, with the stadium renovation, the number of seats isn't going up, but the number of suites is. That is something Dallas Trinity has not been able to take any advantage of. They've just now got that kind of fan suite thing open. Their VIP area is a gazebo on the end of the field and someone serving a cold buffet. How can Atletico Dallas differentiate from that to bring in corporate sponsorship, commercial revenue, the things that can help drive them even if they are dependent on game day revenue, like, walk-up sales?
Those are excellent questions. I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep beating this drum until my head explodes, and I know people are tired of it. But I think they have two main things they should be shooting for. One is they got to figure out how making going to the Cotton Bowl is cool again, and I mean that very literally. And two, they've got to set expectations about quality of play, quality of players, game day experience. I think there's a way to tell that story where you don't make it look bad. It's okay to be a new league, a fresh look, a fresh start, and you're starting from this new place and helping set people's expectations that this isn't instantly going to be MLS, a direct MLS competitor. The reality is we've got a long way to go, but I'm so convinced that what this is going to look like in 2027 or 2028 when Premier launches is that the gap between MLS play and USL Premier is going to be a far wider gap than between USL Premier and USL Championship. And I think that actually plays into their advantage because it means that if they are going to introduce some form of promotion relegation, the competitiveness between those two divisions is going to be much greater, and I think will make for a more entertaining product.
I think that plays into them having Peter as coach.
Yeah.
Obviously they're all, as an ownership group, as a group operating a soccer team, they are new to this, obviously. A chief soccer officer, a sporting director, whatever, they're only as good as their contact book. And if you don't have someone that's seasoned in it, the next best thing you can have is someone that is a very seasoned coach with a amazing contact book from a playing career as well, who has been tapped into youth soccer in the area for, a decade at this point, and can help you assemble that team to develop from the championship into Premier, into whatever Premier evolves into as a standard.
I also want to be clear that my other takeaway is that all these guys involved are very smart. They're deep in the soccer community, Cochran in particular. They know their stuff from both the game itself and from the business standpoint. I think they're all smart cookies. I think they've all worked very hard to kind of develop a plan that they're trying to execute on. They said it at the deal. Their success is going to live or die on whether or not the marketplace comes out to games. The quote was, "I'm asked all the time, what can I do to help?" And the answer is, come to our games. And then Martino said, and buy our merch, because right now that's the only thing that's really sustaining them in terms of revenue is the sales of a lot of their sweet stuff. So, that's the trick. And if they, the Burn and MLS really struggled with that 30 years ago. And it'll be, like you said, Buzz, the key word is fascinating to see how much the market and everything else has changed. Because the other thing that I noticed, and I think this isn't going to surprise anybody, the mood in that room in particular was so very thickly anti-Major League Soccer. Like it was yes, it's like several people brought up, oh man, promotion relegation, that's really going to be the thing. And, just somebody talking about how the system in FC Dallas and the academy system failed them as a player trying to become a professional. And, just all the other, and I think this is all healthy and good. But a lot of people are arriving at this just because they've been so anti-MLS. Well, okay, here's your chance. If you want a downtown or a core urban stadium next to a train stop, you're going to have a soccer team to go to. And now it's up to you, consumer, to put your money where your mouth is.
It's not my business model, but I would love to see, as a consumer on the outside, I would love to see them make a real competitive product in terms of ticket affordability. We talk about leagues around the world, like the German league in particular, the tickets are all really affordable.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that have been FC Dallas fans for a long time that feel really priced out, and that like every single year for like the past decade, there's a bunch of people that drop their season tickets because they get priced out. And
Buzz, you were priced out.
I was priced out. Yeah, for sure. I was one of those people. So I just think it would be really great to see, particularly if you're going to be more urban, if you're going to be more East Dallas, if you're going to be, the core, the young, and not suburban, not corporate, you need to have your ticket. In my opinion, you need to have your tickets based accordingly. And those guys at Atletico, they're phenomenal storytellers. They love to tell a story leading up to any sort of big announcement. I'm quite sure, Peter, that they're going to have all kinds of stories leading up to their launch about just so you'll know the players and you'll know the level you're going to be getting and all that kind of stuff. I'm almost looking forward to it from the outside and just soaking it all in as it comes to pass. So it'll be fun.
I think one thing I think you can add it as your 0.5 to the standard in the league is that those people that are, anti-MLS and we want pro rel. What promotion and relegation looks like in USL is not going to be what they envisage, and it's going to be a difficulty for all the clubs to set the expectation and to deliver the, hey, look, so maybe it's not what Tinfoil Ted told you about on Twitter years ago, but it's good. It is still a meritocracy and everything else. And the other thing I think is, I know there's the fun, edgy, FC Dallas has its own fan base 3,000 miles up the road, whatever they want to say. They're going to make more money off of people that have had some affinity with FC Dallas and maybe been priced out, or have, maybe just didn't want the tollway or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And that you really do risk alienating a lot of people that will spend a lot of money on your product. If you struggle to deliver the wrong message.
Yeah, you definitely don't need to be like an anti-FC Dallas message. That's not what you want to go for. You just want to offer an alternative.
Yeah.
Because our Discord server, everyone in there will go to FC Dallas. If FC Dallas is away, a massive chunk of those people would go to Atletico, would go to Dallas Trinity, would go to Denton Diablos, McKinney Chupacabras, wherever. They just want to support local soccer. And there's no harm in there's no harm in being the alternate product for people that enjoy both.
There was an interesting moment at the event where Cochran said, hey, we just need everybody to come out and enjoy the fact that while it's a giant stadium, we can make 8,000 people have a really good time. And you could kind of tell that everybody was like, oh, please don't say 8,000 people. And then he said, well, why not 10? And then somebody said 15. And then one of the two other guys leaned over, why not 20? And so it's like, look, it may be 8,000 people a game. It just may be, I mean, Trinity has been in that place for a year now, and they're really struggling to get literally enough people that you can't just count them by pointing at them in the stands. So, they've got to help set those expectations.
Didn't you get the numbers the other week and find that no team in USL Championships broke a 10,000 average this past season?
USL last year, nobody broke 10,000 average, correct? Not a single team. And in fact, if you go back several years dating to the pandemic, the regularity of any team breaking 10,000 was typically just one or two teams. Sacramento, El Paso did it once, and I think maybe the Battery, I don't remember, but it's not like any significant number.
But that's it. That kind of realism is healthy, because otherwise you get the situation you had with Trinity where they thought they were going to sell out the entire Cotton Bowl for the Barcelona game and sold 5,000 tickets.
Yeah, and I think if they don't set their expectations properly internally and figure out how to communicate that externally, I think that's where people walk in and go, well, this is a bummer. I was expecting something more than this. So
yeah, it's like saying Frisco, oh yeah, it's a 20,000 seat stadium. They've had 30 consecutive sellouts, whatever else. And then someone comes in on Saturday and they're like, wait, there's maybe 10,000 people here. What's going on?
Yeah, it's like going to a brand new movie theater and you think it's going to have all the kick-ass new stuff, and you find out the seats don't even lean back, or you don't have cup holders or whatever.
What?
That is the most Peter analogy ever.
The subwoofer's broken.
Yeah.
And you want your money back.
Everyone else is like, this movie's cool.
And I can't pay attention because the stupid subwoofer's busted and buzzing around. All right. Well, anyway, we'll talk. I'm sure we're going to talk way more about this. I'm super. I'm super. I really don't want anybody to come away from this thinking that I'm negative or pessimistic or anything. I am super enthusiastic and enthused about the opportunity those guys have to do something really, really cool at a place that I truly love. The Cotton Bowl is so important to me. I was married in Fair Park, for Christ's sake. So I have a reason for it to be successful. I want it to be successful. I'm just really curious about how they plan to move forward and make that all the things we want it to be. So,
Peter, I know everyone loses half their income every year in Fair Park, but you kind of took the piss there.
Something like that. Yeah. Very good. All right. Well, let's see. North Texas signed a player, Buzz.
Yeah, this is one of FC Dallas's draft picks.
And he's 8 years old, it says here.
No, he's an 8.
Oh, he's an 8,
he's
not
a box
he's 8.
Guy. I believe he played for Virginia, who had a pretty good year. Dan said somebody told him that he was the best 8 in college soccer or something. So
Yeah.
we didn't even actually know he was in camp because, like, I guess he reported late. He wasn't on the initial North Texas list I got, and we've not been. And they've been putting trials on their stupid game things, which is so dumb. But it turns out he was in camp, and he played well enough that they signed him. And so that's a, on paper when they picked that guy, that was an interesting looking pick. So we'll get a good chance to see him in North Texas.
Okay.
That was the last draft pick accounted for. And they also signed a goalkeeper. They got Eric Demora from Duke.
Oh, was that since the last podcast? Yeah,
It was.
We knew
It was
he
the
was
day
in
after.
camp. Yeah.
Okay. Have we seen the North Texas schedule yet? When do they start playing in Mansfield officially?
July 4th.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Really? Oh, right in the middle. So wait, that league is playing through the World Cup?
No, I think they have a break
Yeah.
in there too, and then they come back and.
Well, July 4th is in the middle of the World Cup.
I know. What I was saying was, like MLS, they're going to start playing again before the World Cup is over. They're only taking off part of the World Cup.
Oh, I thought MLS was taking the entire World Cup off.
No, they got Leagues Cup too, right? So this is going to pick up in there
Okay.
towards the end of the.
July
I don't think
4th
they're taking the whole World Cup off. They're just taking off a good chunk of the group stage.
July 4th is the day after. Yeah. Okay. That's right there at the end of the group of 32 stage. All right. Well, fascinating. I'm excited about Mansfield, by the way. I think that'll be a lot of fun. All right. I don't think there's anything else to Jim Jam. Oh, my good Lord. We went an hour and a half.
Somebody got very excited about the Atletico party.
I spent too much time talking about thanking people for showing up to the party last week.
No, you didn't. That was appropriate.
Okay.
That party was awesome.
Well, thank you both for showing up.
Yeah. Thank you guys for showing up.
Our pleasure. How much driving you got left, Buzz?
One more day, like 6 hours, 6.5 maybe.
All right.
Depends on how much snow comes in the next 12 hours.
Since this is like the umpteenth time you've made this drive one way or the other, what is the pinnacle? What's your favorite part that you look most forward to on the drive from Dallas to Spokane and back?
Well, I go a different way every time, so there's not like, I always.
How many ways are there to go to Spokane from Dallas?
I've showed you that map I have that has like all the orange tracks all over it.
It's so crazy.
It's such a crazy map.
You're like so insane.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Well, I didn't know if there was like one thing that you make sure you pass every time just so you don't miss it.
A gas station.
Yeah. Not specifically.
A Buc-ee's?
No, I don't do Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's is just a truck stop. No, nothing specifically. It's just to, I try as much as possible to not be on the interstate all the time, but sometimes on this moving package, I've been in a hurry and trying to get there. And so I've got more interstate than I like.
Well, I missed you already, and you already made me cry this week when you posted the photo of you standing in front of the Welcome to Texas sign. So
yeah, that was a goodbye Texas sign.
Just F you, Buzz, for making me weepy.
Sorry, man.
F you too, Dan, for making me weepy.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by the Dallas Beer Guardians 24-hour tailgate. We're just days away from the biggest tailgate tradition in Texas. 24-hour tailgate that kicks off Friday, February 20th, 7 p.m. in the Red Lot at Toyota Stadium, continues until kickoff on the 21st when FC Dallas takes on Toronto. This year's party features food for all 24 hours, a live DJ to keep the vibes up, extra vendors, games, and surprises, and always free beer for everyone over 21 from our friends at Pentecost. Bring your friends, bring your passion. Be part of the tradition that Dallas Beer Guardians is known for. It's a 24-hour tailgate. Don't miss it.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you both. Buzz, travel safely. Get there safely. Give Amy a hug. And thank you, DFW Soccer Curious. We will be back next week with a much shorter episode. Oh, and 3 points, no doubt, of Third Degree, the podcast.
Season's back.
Go, Burn, go.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.